Hey guys, Primal Swampy here. Sorry I've been out for so long. Been trying to move around in my new place. And I'll give y'all a tour of it as soon as I get unpacked and all that good stuff. But for today, I'm going to be showing you a deck tech of Tapu Koko GX, which got a lot better with the Burning Shadows release. This deck is going to be a post-rotation, so no VS Seekers, none of that. It's going to be Breakthrough Onward, which is the new standard after this rotation. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. Main attacker of the deck is going to be Tapu Koko GX. Run 4 copies of him. 170 HP, basic type. He has the ability Arrow Trail. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, during your turn you may move any number of electric energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you do, switch this Pokemon with your active. Really good ability. Has the attack Sky High Claws for 2 electric and a colorless, does 130. Really good 2-shot. Has the GX attack Tapu Thunder for the same energy requirement, does 50 damage times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. And has a retreat cost of 2 with no weakness or resistance. I don't think the weakness would be too bad. I'm sure he would be weak to fighting, like most electric type, but I don't think fighting's too huge of a type right now. And we run a couple of 1-ofs. We'll run 1 Jolteon, mostly for Flash Ray, 70 and prevents basic attacks, and free retreat. Then we run 1 Raikou, good to load up energy on, and a good non-GX attacker. And with the new addition of Burning Shadows, we have Marshadow GX. For his Shadow Hunt ability, this Pokemon can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile, which is pretty good. If you happen to have Tapu Koko in your discard and not one on your bench, you can load him up and use Tapu Koko's attacks, or Raikou, or Jolteon. Any of those will work great. And to end it with the Pokemon, 2 Tapu Lele GX, obvious reasons, every deck runs it. Wonder Tag ability, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and shuffle your deck after. And Energy Drive's a pretty good attack as well. Does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. And that's it for this Pokemon lineup. We have a good 9 Pokemon. All basics though, so that's pretty good to start with. Okay, and now we move on to the supporter lineup. We run 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Pretty standard. Even though most decks are running typically 3 now because VS Seekers are out of rotation. But I still like to have 4 for maximum consistency. We also run 4 copies of N. I'm sure everybody knows what he does by now, or I hope so. We run 3 copies of Guzma. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched. Basically an escape rope, but you get to choose what your opponent puts in. And we run 3 copies of him because we don't have VS Seeker, so you're going to want him pretty often. And then a new tech that's in this deck from Burning Shadows. We run 4 copies of Acerola. Put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand, which works really good with Tapu Koko. Because with him, along with other cards in the deck that I haven't showed yet, he's going to have very, very high HP, more than what the card says. So basically, your opponent's going to have to take a 1-shot on him, but if they don't, and they just get him pretty damaged, that's when you can use Acerola, scoop him up, or actually use another Tapu Koko, use Arrow Trail, get him in the active, and then Acerola up this one. You're basically denying prize cards to your opponent. So we run 4 copies of that to try to pull that off as much as possible. And for our last supporter, we run a single copy of Ninja Boy. I think this is a very good supporter card in this deck. You really don't want to start with Tapu Koko, so I'd like to put a single copy of Ninja Boy in there to get him out. I think it's a pretty good tech card in there. Most of the time you want to start with Jolteon, mostly because he's free retreat. Okay, and that is it for the supporters. Move on to the item cards. Run 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Pretty standard in every deck. Discard your 2 cards from your hand and search for a Pokemon. And we run 4 copies of Max Elixir so we can maximize our energy output. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. You may reveal a basic energy and put it on one of your basic benched Pokemon. Good way to accelerate Raikou. And with another new tech, but an older card that just got reprinted, Super Scoop Up. Run 4 copies of them as well, for the same reason for Acerola, except we don't have to use a supporter to do it. But we do have to flip heads. But can be really good in good situations. And we run 2 Field Blowers, like almost every deck does. Garbatoxin is still pretty impactful on Tapu Koko. He can't use his Arrow Trail or any of that. Then we run a couple one-ofs. 1 Rescue Stretcher, 1 Super Rod. And then for the tool cards, we run 3 Fighting Fury belts and 1 Choice Band. I choose to run 1 Choice Band, mostly for Jolteon. If you're going against a deck such as Volcanion that only plays basic, you can actually Flash Ray and that'll help your damage output. Now for Fighting Fury, you run this with Tapu Koko mostly. You attach this to him. That's going to give him 210 HP. But he doesn't stop there. He gets more HP with this card right here. Aether Paradise Conservation Area. Very long name for a stadium card. It says, basic grass and basic electric Pokemon take 30 less damage from the opponent's attacks. So, basically, your Tapu Koko with a Fighting Fury, and you have this in play, has 240 HP for a basic GX. That is crazy. And you can even have a Fighting Fury belt on Raikou. That's gonna give him 160 HP. With this in play, 190, and then his ability reduces 20. That's 210 HP for a basic non-GX or EX attacker. That is insane. Insane HP numbers. And with Super Scoop Up and Acerola, your opponent's basically going to have to one-shot you, which is going to be very difficult at 240 HP. Or you're just going to keep resetting your damage over and over and over. I think that's a much better card to put in than Max Potion. I think it's much more consistent. And that is it for the trainers. Then we move on to the energy count. We're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we'll make them fit all on the screen. And that is it for the deck. I think it's a pretty good deck. Probably not tier 1, but I definitely think it's a deck that'll do good in local tournaments and what other events you guys go to. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more Primal Swampy videos.